The Tush Push has absolutely changed the NFL. The Eagles have turned the quarterback sneak into one of the most effective plays in football, successfully converting it nearly 90% of the time since 2022, making it the most effective play in NFL history. But what makes this play so special? In this video, I'm going to be showing you how it works, how a rugby coach made it better, how defenses have stopped it, and all the trickery that happens at the line. This is a new series, Breakdown. So Jason Kelce revealed in a podcast that they learned how to make it unstoppable from a Scottish rugby coach.
Let me see if I can do my best Scottish impression. He says, "Coach, there ain't nothing you can do to stop it. It's organized mass. It's organized mass, and there's nothing they can do as long as you're organized. There's too much people going in the same direction at the same time."
I enjoyed that.
So the man he's talking about is Richie Gray, an ex-rugby player who specializes in collision techniques. He's worked with some of the best rugby teams in the world, and the Eagles first brought him in to help improve their tackling, but offensive line coach Jeff Stoutland asked Gray for advice on another play, their quarterback sneak. And with Gray's advice, the Eagles took an already successful play and made it nearly unstoppable. So to understand how this works, let's first look at how the Tush Push works, and then his rugby comparison, the scrum. In the Eagles Tush Push, you have an offensive line of ex-rugby player Jordan Mailata, Landon Dickerson, Cam Jurgens, Mekhi Becton, and Lane Johnson for a combined weight of over 16,000 pounds. In the backfield, you have Goddard, Hurts, and Barkley for a combined squat weight of over 17,000 pounds. But it's not just their size that makes this play unstoppable, it's their technique. Firstly, unlike other teams that spread their offensive linemen out, the Eagles use extremely tight splits, meaning their linemen are shoulder to shoulder, leaving no gaps for defenders to penetrate. At the snap, the ball almost always goes to the left side of the line, where the Eagles' biggest and strongest players, Mailata and Dickerson, operate. The key to the success on the left side is a technique called closing the gate. When the ball is snapped, the center, Dickerson, and Mailata all step inward towards each other, creating a wedge or tip of the spear that the play can drive through. This alignment prevents any defensive penetration from the left side, allowing Dickerson and Mailata to stay low, keep their shoulders tight together, and just churn their legs forward, essentially crawling underneath any defenders trying to stop them. If you notice, the right side usually allows some people to get through, but it doesn't matter, as it creates a wave of momentum on the left side, and Hurts, rather than running forward, just follows this wave. Sometimes he powers through on his own, and other times he surfs over the pile with the skilled players in the backfield acting as a failsafe, making sure he gets that extra few inches needed for a first down or touchdown. Now let's slide over to the rugby counterpart, the scrum. In rugby, a scrum has been used since the 1800s, and it's one of the most efficient ways to use team strength. Players on both sides form tight rows very much like the Eagles' O-line and lock together and drive forward to move the pile. It's an organized way to focus a lot of force in a small area. And obviously it looks very similar to the Tush Push, but there are a couple key differences that Gray noticed that make the scrum equal for both sides in rugby and the brotherly shove far more dominant for the offense in the NFL. Firstly, in rugby, to stop a scrum, it is all about leverage. Defenders are taught to get lower than their opponents, using their shoulder height to push forward and upward. And this usually does a very good job of counteracting the offensive side, and that's why there's rarely any movement in professional rugby games. The clips I've shown you so far are considered some of the greatest scrums of all time, and there's really not that much movement. So some NFL defenders have tried doing the same thing. For example, in a previous game against the Eagles, Jonathan Allen is literally crawling against the Eagles defender, and if you see his position, it's very similar to the position and height of other rugby players. But here's where football offense has its first advantage, because while in rugby, players aren't allowed to go over the top due to strict rules, in the NFL, offensive players can attack from both below and above. This means that they don't only have to worry about the offensive line's push on the ground, but also about Hurts trying to surf over the pile. Meaning to stop it, you have to get both below the pile so you don't get pushed backwards, and above to stop players like Jalen Hurts from surfing. That's why players like Frankie Lou have tried to jump over the top of the pile to stop Jalen Hurts, but that leads to yet another key difference that Gray taught the Eagles, and it's the most important part of the entire Tush Push, and that is that action beats reaction. In rugby, a scrum starts at a set time, giving both teams an equal opportunity to move. But in football, the offense controls the start of the play by snapping the ball. This gives the Eagles a split-second advantage because they know when the play begins and the defense has to react. And action always beats reaction. If defenders could time the play like they do in rugby, they actually have a better chance of stopping it. And we can see it the few times they have been stopped, it's always because the players have timed the snap perfectly. Look at this example of the Bucs stopping it. Firstly, look how much lower the D tackle is able to get than the center. So Hurts tries to surf over the top, but KJ Witt is able to time his jump perfectly to get over the top and stop the play completely. Or this play from the NFC Championship where they don't even need a player to get lower because two players time the snap perfectly and get to Hurts over the top. But obviously timing it is very difficult to do, and football is a chess game, and the Eagles are always adapting. So they realize that their count is so important in making this play work. So after getting stopped in this 2-point conversion earlier in the game, they started tricking the Commanders so they couldn't time their snap. On this play, everyone on the Commanders thought the ball was getting snapped, with Allen getting lower and Louisville going over the top. And if it actually had been snapped, I think this play would have been stopped, but they're tricked by a false count. This didn't stop Louisville from trying to time it because he understood how important it was to get over the top. But still, the Eagles were able to get the touchdown. Now, it's almost impossible to stop the tush push, but then you have twists that they use, which I almost guarantee will come into play in the Super Bowl, where the defense is so committed to getting lower than the center and getting over the top and timing the snap that the Eagles can fake it like they did multiple times in the past. Look at these 3 fake plays they ran, where they either got touchdown or huge yardage, or at least attempted either of them. So by bringing in a rugby coach, the Eagles found a way to take an ordinary play and turn it into a game changer. Whether you love it or hate it, the tush push has changed the NFL, and we'll see if this play can take the Eagles all the way.
Hurts is it!